Hello and welcome to Make It Happen with Will Polston. I'm Will Polston. This is episode number 40, and in this episode we're going to be talking about cultivating an attitude of gratitude. And this really is one of the truly life-changing things that you can do. I mean, I know a lot of people say these days it's life-changing, it's a game changer, but truly and honestly, this really is. You know, it really, really, really is. So I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into it. So I want to start off with the ultimate riddle. And the passage I'm about to say to you is from the Holy Scriptures, and it's mystified, confused, and been misunderstood by so many people for hundreds of years. Whoever has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken from him. Now, you may have heard that before at some point or read that before at some point, and many, many people would think, and you may be one of them, that when you read that or hear that particular passage, it appears unjust. It seems to be saying that the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer. But it's a riddle to be solved, and I'm about to share with you the answer. And when you know it, life will never be the same again. The answer to the riddle that's eluded so many people for centuries is in one hidden word, and that hidden word is gratitude. So I'll read it again. Whoever has gratitude will be given more, and he or she will have an abundance. Whoever does not have gratitude, even what he or she has will be taken from him or her. Now, just by introducing that one hidden word, a cryptic text is made crystal clear. Thousands of years have passed since those words have been recorded, but they're just as true now as they've ever been. If you're not grateful, you will never have an abundance, and what you do have will wither away. Living in gratitude, you'll be given more and you'll live in abundance. And that makes so much sense, but then the question is how? Well, for a start, gratitude is not an emotion, it's a frequency. So what we need to do is we need to be able to get ourselves into that frequency. And how do we do that? Well, the way that we do that is we create equilibrium. And what happens is most people have been brought up, and I was one of these, don't get me wrong, until I realised this and become aware of this. It was that we're looking for and we're striving for a one-sided bias. You know, like we're like, right, I really want to be happy, I never want to be sad. I really want to be positive, I really never want to be negative. And when you do that, you'll swing from one extreme to the other. You know, it's like on a pendulum. If you go far up to one end of the pendulum, what happens as soon as you relax a little bit, it's going to swing right back the other way, like a wrecking ball. And if you're one of those people, I'm sure you've experienced that you've strived and strived and strived, and then boom, you're thrown back in, and it just feels like it's not a nice experience. It's really not a nice experience. So how do we overcome that? Well, the optimum state of gratitude is being able to see both perspectives to be able to create that equilibrium. So one of the core beliefs that I highly recommend that you introduce into your life is that life happens for you, not to you. So many people, what happens is they set outcomes and they want the outcome to happen, fair enough. But what they also do is they set the way that they want the outcome to happen as well. And when that doesn't happen, then they fall short. It's like happiness is equal to or greater than your expectation. So if that expectation isn't met, then you're going to feel disheartened, you're going to feel deflated, and it's not going to work for you. So what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to rise above that. And the way that we rise above that is by bringing in a balance in perspective. So if something isn't going the way that you want it to, then what we have to do is we have to look and find, well, how is that benefiting? How are we benefiting from that particular situation? And the most effective way to get a balanced perspective is exploring how quantitatively and qualitatively we can create that balance. So it's not just about going, well, one thing's gone wrong. Well, one thing might have gone wrong, but 10 other things, good things have happened that are sort of smaller things that balance that out. It's a bit like if you have balance scales, the old-fashioned balance scales where you put sort of weights on one end and then you put, I don't know, your bowl of flour and you keep pouring the flour in until it gets to balance. That's what we're looking to do. It's like if you had a gold bar on one of those balance scales and then you added a few grains of sand, obviously the gold bar is going to be a lot heavier. But if we keep adding grains of sand, lots and lots, it's going to be thousands, hundreds of thousands of grains of sand, eventually we're going to get to balance, and that's what we're looking to do. So the actual cultivating gratitude process is done in a few different ways. So the first thing that you want to do in order to do it is identify your values. If you have not identified your means values and your end values, go back to, I think it's episode 2 called Identify Your Values. Listen to that episode. It's going to give you a really good understanding about values. So we're going to identify our top 3 or 4 values first of all. So when something doesn't go the way that we want it to go, we can then say, right, how is this benefiting me in my highest values? You know, so my 4 highest values are self-mastery, building businesses, creating wealth, and building relationships. So what I do is I look, right, where is this serving me? How am I benefiting in those 4 highest values as a result of this particular thing that hasn't gone right? And I keep listing them out, and we're going to go through a process in a moment which I'm going to explain to you about exactly how you list them out. Then we're going to look in the different areas of life. So we look in the first 4 areas, and then we're going to look in the 7 key areas of life. So where is this benefiting me spiritually, mentally, in my career, with my family, financially, socially, physically? How is this benefiting me? And we look for those. And then what we look for are the classification. So we're going to look, what's the primary benefit, what's the secondary benefit, and what's the tertiary benefit. So to use a contextual example, I'll use something that happened for me a few years ago, right? So I lost my driving license. I was a totter, a totter, just to make sure you heard that word correctly. I was a totter as a result of getting too many points, and it meant I had to lose my driving license for 6 months. An inconvenience, right? And for a lot of people, they said at the time, like, oh my God, that'd be the end of my world. I don't know how you're going to deal with it. The way I dealt with it very simply was straight away going to this process and going, right, well, how is this benefiting me in my highest value of self-mastery? Well, it's benefiting me because I'm having to be creative. And what's the benefit of me being creative? Well, I feel more inspired when I'm creative. What's the benefit of me being more inspired? Well, if I'm more inspired, then I can be more inspiring, which means I can impact more people, which is my life's mission, which is to empower 1 billion people to transform excuses into results, live a life that they love, and have the ripple effect that benefits themselves, their family, their friends, their community, society, humanity, the universe. So what I did in that moment is just by identifying that one thing, I was able to identify 3 things, so the primary, secondary, and the tertiary, from that one thing I identified first of all in my in my self-mastery example. Then I could have found something in terms of, I don't know, just looked in my family. Well, how would it mean that I'd benefit my family? Well, it would mean that I'd benefit my family because actually, rather than sort of pop in, see my family for a few minutes and then leave, which I would do if I obviously had my car, I would actually go and I would spend more time with them. I'd spend hours with them on sort of or sort of half a day or a day with them, rather than just popping in and out, which meant that, particularly for my mum, for example, who loves spending time with us, is that she was happier. And because she was happy, I was happier. So we can find these things and we keep digging deep. Now, what I will say is that dependent on how challenging that particular thing is, what the thing is that's gone wrong, that you're trying to bring back into balance, you might have to write out as many as 150 to 200 benefits. Now, that does sound like a lot. But like I say, when you start looking in your in your values, so for example, if you found 10 different things in your values and then you go primary, secondary and tertiary, all of a sudden that's 30. You then find 5 things in each of the 7 areas of life, that's 35. Primary, secondary and tertiary, that's 100 and... here's my maths, 105 there. So all of a sudden you're at 145 just by going through the key 5 things from each area of life and 10 things from each of the of your values. So it can actually be quite an easy process. Now, what I will also say is that the opposite of this works as well, and it's important to do the opposite. So when you think things are going really, really, really well, then what we want to look for the drawbacks, because there will be drawbacks when things are going really, really well. And the reason why we want to do that is because, again, remember that swinging pendulum. If we think things are really good and we get infatuated with things being really good and everything's amazing and this is incredible, then you're gonna have a hard fall. I mean, the famous saying, "The pride before the fall." You don't want to be sort of living on this everything's amazing sort of ecstasy type life, and having those feelings. You want to be living in the state of gratitude. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place to be living in, and it is like putting on a different pair of glasses and seeing things from a completely different frame. You'll be amazed at how life changes when you adopt this process. It's impossible to feel fear and gratitude at the same time. So if you're someone that finds yourself feeling anxious a lot of the time, feeling quite fearful, bring yourself back to this practice of cultivating gratitude, and you'll be amazed at what happens. Now, something more practical for you, because you guys that listen to this regularly, I love giving you something that's practical that you can implement here, is practicing gratitude daily. Practice gratitude daily. One of the things that I love to do is I get my journal out at the beginning of the day and I think of and then write out 10 things that I'm grateful for. Now, just to give you some ideas of things that you can do to identify these things to be grateful for, is think of people in your life. Think of people in your life. Think of experiences in your life that you've had that day, or you're going to be having that day, or that you've had that week. Think of maybe belongings that you've got, some material items, whether it's your house, your car, your clothes. One of the things that I love doing is just the simple things, like the fact that I've got ironed clothes in my wardrobe, or I've got clean clothes in the drawers. Those things are really beautiful. Some of the things that we take for granted. Expectations, so most of us wake up these days with expectations. We wake up expecting the toilet to flush. We wake up expecting the phone to have charged overnight. We wake up expecting the alarm to go off. Some of these things that at some point in your life you might have experienced that they're that when it's not gone the way you wanted it to, so you wake up and there's no hot water, or you wake up and you've got a flat tire, or you wake up and there's no petrol in the car because someone's used it and they parked it up and they didn't put petrol in it. These things that the small things that we tend to gloss over. One thing I do know for sure is that it soon knocks you out of feeling grateful when they've not gone the way that you want them to go. So identify those things. And one other thing, a great place to look when you're looking for daily gratitude, is what are your privileges? There's so many privileges that we have. If you're someone that's listening to this podcast right now, you are an extremely privileged person. And identify some of those privileges that you have and write them down. I say just 10 things on a daily basis. And one of the things that you can do to make it really powerful is add the word because on the end of it. So I'm grateful that I've got clean clothes today because, and then add the reasons why. I'm grateful that my alarm went off this morning because it meant that I was able to get up on time, which meant my day ran a lot smoother, which meant I was happier at work, which meant my staff were happier with me, or my teammates were happier with me. Whatever that is, look for those things that you're grateful for. So you can do it as a daily exercise, which I encourage you to do because it starts to engage your brain, particularly your reticular activating system, which is the part of your brain that enables you to focus, to start to look for the good and the things that are going well in challenging situations. And also it's a really great exercise to do when things really haven't gone the way that you want them to bring you back into balance. Do this regularly and watch your life change. So yeah, there's cultivating an attitude of gratitude. I encourage you to live in an attitude of gratitude. And one of the things that I would love for you to do, if you're not already in it, join the Make It Happen community Facebook group. There's over 5,000 positive driven, like-minded people in that group, sharing their wins, sharing their challenges, communicating, connecting from all over the world. Now, what I would love for you to do, if you listen to this podcast, post in the group, today I am grateful for X, and I would love for you to share something you're grateful for and use the hashtag gratitude. I'd love for you to do that. So I look forward to seeing all of the things that you're grateful for having listened to this podcast and posting that in the Facebook group. Let me know how you get on. Until next time, make it happen.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Make It Happen with Will Polston podcast. Make sure you join Will's free Facebook group, the Make It Happen community. Please support the show by subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud or Google Play. Share this episode with at least one friend you think would benefit from it, and give Will a 5-star review wherever you download your podcasts. Until next time, make it happen.